All right, everybody. Happy Monday. This rocking September. We're all going to make it a September to remember and rock into Rocktober. And speaking of rock, the man I'm about to introduce, I found out recently, is also a walking, talking rock and roll encyclopedia. All right. From the St. Rose office, Mr. Tony Allotta. Tony, hit *6, and then we can hear you, please.
I think I've already hit *6. Can you hear me?
All right, good. Good. So welcome, man. How's it going?
It's going great. It's going great. You talk about, it's going great. So
yeah,
you were going to ask me
it's still moving.
Yeah, it is morning. You talk about rockin', and, one of my jobs during college was I worked at Odyssey Records, a local record store, was on Las Vegas Boulevard, probably the only record store in the country that was open 24 hours. And ever since then, I've been avid music, record, vinyl, CD collector. So
that is awesome. Yeah, I know, because when we were talking last time, you were telling me some of the concerts and some of the people you have seen live, and I was like, holy cow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
it's got to be fun.
Sure is.
Well, tell them a little about yourself, my man. Tell them how long you've been in the business. Give them a little history, because not everybody on this call knows you. So tell them a little about yourself, how long you've been doing this, anything you think that may be interesting.
I've been in the real estate business now about 19 years. Kind of grew up in Las Vegas. I've been here for almost 60 years. Previous life, I worked at Levi Strauss. I was a regional product integrity manager. I graduated from UNLV. I played soccer there, coached soccer for 43 years, married for 46. We always laugh. We say we've been happily married for 3, but we've been actually married for 46. 3 kids, 8 grandchildren. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay, Ian, so what are you thinking about? I love that. I mean, isn't it amazing? Like, Mark was the same way. I could do a list of people that moved here. Well, I shouldn't say moved. Came here to go to UNLV and just stayed. It's such and I've been here 12 years now. I thought I'd live here for a couple years with my stint with Mike Ferry, at the headquarters. I say that jokingly. I had a great time, but and then I fell in love with Las Vegas too. It's such a great area to live in, I think.
Yeah, I didn't come here to go to UNLV. I came here as a child, and so I went to elementary school, junior high school, UNLV. Right.
Yeah, and a lot of people that, I mean, it's such a great area too, especially with real estate, the numbers we have, the amount of growth we're going through. Even with this slight little, a lot of people are calling it a stall, but really it's just back to a 2018-ish, 19-ish normalized market, right?
Absolutely. It's slowed down for a little bit with the buyers, but buyers are starting to pick up and seeing that the interest rate is not going down. So it's starting to pick up from that area, but our listings obviously have gone up considerably.
Yeah, they have. They're back up to like 2019 numbers, but nowhere near. I mean, people forget, like when I moved here, what is it right now? Like 9,000 active homes, single families, condos on the market? Something like that,
probably
right?
Probably a little less than that, but it's close.
Yeah. When I moved here, there was almost 30,000 homes on the market. So
yeah.
It's still, remember those days? That's
Yep.
Definitely a buyer's market.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think today as agents, we just need to coach the sellers that, look at, yes, you're right, 6 months ago things were a little different, but they're still incredible. If you own the home for 4 years, it's gone up 50% in value. If you've owned it for 7 or 8, it's doubled in value. It's kind of tough. It's like the stock market. And the stock market is now adjusted slightly too, but it's tough to say, it's a lot tough. It's tough for them to accept the fact that it's adjusted slightly, even though it's very, their properties have gone up a lot in value.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of year are you having this year, my man?
It's a little behind last year, but I plan to kick it up a little harder. My homes are still selling. And my motto when I first started was always outwork the competition. So at this point, I'm just going to work hard and smart, and hopefully I'll catch up to last year's numbers. I'm close. I'm not that far behind, but I'm a little behind last year's numbers.
Yeah, I think most people are, just because the market. I mean, let's face it. If you go back 4 months and then go back 18 months, that's probably the best 18 months in the history of real estate.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So all those agents out there that have only been in the business a few years, they're like, "Oh my God, it's tanking." It's normalizing. It's not. I mean, it's not. The last 2 years have been, fantasy land, and now we're back to reality. So, like you just said, you got to work hard. You got to be brutally honest. You can't be afraid to walk away from a listing. Right now, two things: price, or both actually is the best, or factor in. I know that Prosperity Mortgage has a great program where you can add it right in there, and they'll, being a rate buy down, which I think is really attractive to buyers today, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You need to use those tools. I mean, you have to always think outside the box. So there's always creative ways for buyers and sellers.
Right. Right, because I was reading. I finally decided to read something on the Fed recently, and I was like, as soon as the market stops showing any bit of growing again, it really irritates the person running the Fed. So that's why he keeps because they feel like if they paralyze. When I say paralyze, I'm exaggerating a little bit. We slow everything down enough, then prices, being bread, milk, gas, everything else will come back into reality. Unfortunately, by doing that, it also affects the real estate market. But they're hell bent. They might raise the rate another 0.75 in October is what they're talking about. I think they just want to actually do what they need to do and threaten it at the same time to see what kind of response they get out of threatening it too. I've never seen them be this aggressive on the base rate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Kind of crazy.
Crazy.
But
it's a normal market right now. It's a normal market.
It is a normal
and
market.
You have to shift gears.
Yeah. So like when you're on a listing presentation today, what are you telling your sellers? Like, well, how do you get them to price it right today, which is really the place you want to be?
It's really difficult because a lot of I just was talking to a seller, and he told me his house is probably worth $800,000, and so I started doing my comps and all that. I'm looking at about 740. So I talked to him yesterday, and he says, "Wow, I can't believe it's gone down that much." He said, because houses in the neighborhood were selling for $800,000. I said, well, they actually weren't, and we talked about that. So I try to get him off the square that because he's got $800,000 in his mind, and I've got to get him down to 740, 730, in that range, and he'll still walk away making money.
Right. And what was your home worth 4 years ago, and what was your right? So I think you got to get him to start looking at it in perspective.
Yes. And, most people are reading the papers and they're seeing that. They're seeing what's on the news. And so I think you just got to bring them back into reality.
Right. And that's the one good thing that the news is good for right now, is because they sensationalize everything, that they're starting to put fear into buyers and sellers. Like you said, buyers want to get out there if you're thinking about buying and definitely do something. Because, right now, you can get the seller to contribute up to 3%. I mean, you can, for 2%, you can buy that rate down a heck of a lot.
Yes, absolutely. Yep, you're right. So
that's what I would do if I was a buyer today. I'd just buy that rate down. And, what is Prosperity saying? Marry the home, date the rate. I love that. It's so awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Because you can refinance. People don't realize, most people don't stay the same mortgage for 15 or 30 years. They refinance that sucker.
Or move, because the buyer,
or move, which is even better, right?
the seller I was talking to, he bought the house 2 years ago, and we paid like $535,000 for it. He's done a little bit. He put solar on. He did a few things, but situation for him changed. And I said, what changed? He says, well, his daughter was living with him. They're moving to Oklahoma, and now he doesn't need a 5-bedroom house. So
right.
situations changed.
Yeah. And I also think, now trust me here, now I'm going to go on a little bit of a limb here, but this is just my opinion. I think bigger homes prior to COVID were on their way out a little bit. And then COVID happened, and people said, well, if I'm going to work out of my house and then all of a sudden the upper end was doing decent, but it went through a real surge during COVID. Like Vegas 2 years in a row, last year and the year before, set records for homes over $1 million. And I think 2020 was like twice any other year as far as sales over $1 million. And then 2021 was like 5 times what 2020 was. So that's crazy. So I think it definitely was a resurgence for the bigger homes. But I think now that life is getting back to normal, you may see some people doing some downsizing.
Yep, you're right. You're right there. And this is a prime example of what I just was talking about.
Yeah, you reminded me of that when you said that. Okay, Tony. So you've been doing this a while. You're very successful. You're always in the top echelon of the agents there because I go to the awards. I see you there, right? And there's people on the call today or people listening. If you want to be successful in a market, not just like the market we went through, but like you said, you've been through all kinds of markets, myself as well. Give them 3 things. Like let's start 1, 2, 3. What would be the 3 most important things you tell them to focus on to be a success in this business?
One thing I see, and the whole dynamic is changing, but I always feel like you have to answer your phone. And you hear so much, if you can't get me, text me, that kind of thing. I answered my phone. It was Christmas Eve, and a lady said to me, I've called 10 realtor signs, and you were the first one that answered your phone, so without hesitation, I'm going to use you. I ended up getting them a house, selling them a house because I answered my phone. Sometimes it's inconvenient, but I answer. I say, hey, can I call you back in 30 minutes or an hour? I'm having dinner, but at least I answer my phone, and most of the time it's, yeah, just call me back, so that's one of my pet peeves, because a lot of these agents, even when you're doing deals with them, they want to text. Now, I go into, when I'm talking to a client, when I have a client, I'm working with them, I say, what's the best form of communication? Some of them will say, oh, just text me. Okay, but at least I've got a license that I can text that person at that time.
Right. But
my main gripe about this is answer your phone. Answer your phone. My second thing is,
I love that.
I talk about this all the time, is you undercommit and you over-deliver. If you're going to say you're going to do something, say, hey, I'll call you back in an hour, call them back in 45 minutes. If you say you're going to do whatever you're going to do, undercommit, over-deliver. Okay, that's one thing. And the one of the other thing is you got to be real, be authentic, okay? If you don't know something, tell somebody you don't know something. And another really thing that I always try to do is don't hold on to the bad news, okay? I had escrow cancel on me the other day, and as soon as I heard the reason why it canceled, I called my client. It was probably 7:30, 8 o'clock at night when I heard the bad news, but I didn't want to go to bed thinking, oh, God, I got to call them in the morning, because I would have tossed and turned all night. So don't hold on to the bad news. And a couple of other things that I think
let's hear it.
You need to do is you need to think out of the box. Okay, several years ago, I started a website called Las Vegas Canadians, and I had a friend that was a agent up in Calgary, and so we designed a thing, and he was, because a lot of the Canadians were at that time buying here, because the inventory was, it was a lot of short sales and foreclosures. Price was good. Canadian dollar was about par. So we started doing home shows up in Calgary, and we were the only ones there at the home show from Las Vegas. And it was, a lot of them were from Phoenix and those areas. But I got a ton of clients from that. And in fact, 12 years ago, I sold a house or a condo to these folks, and I've got their listing right now to resell it, because they've been coming here for 12 years. Now they're ready to do something else. But think out of the box. Don't always, think that you have to do things exactly the same. Think out of the box. And I
love
always
that.
take another thing is that I try and learn from everybody, because my first broker told me, he said, I've been in the business 25 years, and I think I only know about 75% of what there is to know. And I always took that to heart, because, if I do an open house with a new agent, sometimes they tell me stuff that I go, oh, wow, I didn't know that, And so you got to learn from everybody and then make it your own. Figure out how to make it your own. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts.
Those are great. I love it. Those are great. I love the out of the box thinking, as far as because Las Vegas is a destination for a lot of people. A lot of people own second homes here or rental properties, and even with the property values going up, it's still a great place to buy a rental property, because you put 20% down, it cash flows, which is not the case in many parts of the country. So little things like that, I think, are big.
Yep, absolutely. And always try
Calgary, too. It gets cold in Calgary.
Yeah, it does. And they like to come. In fact, I had lunch with one of my past clients from Calgary this past week, and he's going to come here in November and stay for 4 months. Because it's cold up there, and it's warm here, or warmer. So.
Yeah, when I was at Mike Ferry, I coached one of the top agents team up there. I can't think of the woman's name, but she was from Calgary, sold 150 homes a year. She was her and her husband, and she had a small team of people, and she did an incredible job. But yeah, Calgary, Canada's beautiful. It's just cold, 5-6 months of the year.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so I love the points. I think it's great. I know I sold my own listing on Christmas Eve for the same reason. And this is back when cell phones. I answered the phone on my brick phone. Right. So remember those?
Yep, remember them.
And I had to drive to their hotel. It was Christmas Eve. My birthday's Christmas. I'm like, it's my birthday tomorrow, and it's Christmas too. I was joking with them because they came in from like Washington D.C. and they needed a house, and I had a new construction model that we just put on the market, and they wanted to buy it, and I drove to their hotel and sold it to them on Christmas Eve. I'll do that, right, Tony? We'll go out and do that on Christmas Eve.
Right. My wife thinks I work 24/7. It's not generally the case, because yesterday I watched football, I watched basketball, but I did an open house in between, during the day or in the morning. So, so you don't work 24/7, but my phone's on. I answer my phone.
You do answer your phone, and I do see you in there all the time working. We have our little joke about the Yankees. By the way, congratulations. You will be in the playoffs this year. You're going to win the division and be in the playoffs. So, wish you the best of luck there.
I wasn't going to talk about that because we kept talking about
I know
the long season.
Yes, we will.
I knew you would be. Hey, how you doing?
It's Tanya, your favorite Brooklyn, New Yorker. So Yankees.
That's right. There you go. There's another Yankees fan for you, Tony. Tanya.
Yeah, there's more than one of us, Rick. There's more than one of us.
Yeah, I know. I believe me, I know, because like my license plate says the Patriots on it, and I get crap about that all the time. It's not popular to be a Patriots fan on the West Coast or Red Sox. Red Sox more so. People like the Sox. People love the Yankees too. Yeah, no doubt. But let's see. We'll see what happens in the playoffs, because it's a whole different season.
Absolutely. Yep, you're right there. And I'm hoping that Judge gets his 61st, 62nd, and whatever else. He got 2 yesterday, so.
Yeah, I know it. He's on a tear. What does he need to do to beat the? What is the number to beat it? 62.
61 will tie it. 62 will beat the Yankee record. But you got Bonds.
Yankee record.
Yeah, the steroid era home run.
I was going to say
people.
no one really counts Bonds.
Yeah.
Although he still had to do it, so I hear you. But yeah, no, isn't it? What is it? Roger Maris, right? Roger Maris is 61.
Maris, 61 in 61. And I'm old enough to remember.
Crazy.
And I'm old enough to remember that. So.
I was born in 64, so I don't remember that. But no, the Yankees have the Yankees are like the Celtics and almost Los Angeles Lakers now. The Celtics were for so many years had so many more titles, just like the Yankees had more. But there's a few other teams like the Atlanta Braves since 2000. We've got 4, I think, since 2000. So it's good. It's good that it's mixing up a little bit more with the way they do free agency and everything now. It makes it, and the luxury tax, which makes it a little bit more fair. But the Yankees and the Dodgers are going to play it every year. They just don't care. It's obvious. All right. So we have a few minutes left here. I want them to hear. Tell them you're probably okay. What's the one concert you went to as a kid or back at the Hollywood Bowl or whatever that is the most interesting or the most unique?
The most interesting was the Beatles in August of '64 here at the Las Vegas Convention Center. But I was 12 years old, and so you heard all kinds of screaming. You saw girls fainting. It was so loud, the screaming, that it was hard to hear the music, but very memorable. But then, I've seen Bob Dylan several times. I've seen Bruce Springsteen back when he was on the cover of Time and Newsweek, The Who. Leonard Cohen, right before he died, was absolutely incredible. There were so many. Jethro Tull. There were so many over the years. But
Jethro Tull seems to be very entertaining live because he's a little off the wall, isn't he?
Well, you know what? They played. I saw him a couple of times, but they played Thick as a Brick, and they played that for an hour and a half. And then they went off stage for intermission. He comes back, and I remember the comment. He says, "Okay, now for my second number." The crowd went.
And he plays the flute like a rock and roller. He's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I've seen,
all right, Tony,
seen a lot of them.
Go ahead. Who did you? We were talking about the Hollywood Bowl, and you brought up. Wasn't it the Doors? You saw the Doors there too, right?
I saw the Doors twice in Las Vegas. Not at the Hollywood Bowl. Not at the Hollywood Bowl. Twice in Las Vegas. The first time was in 1967, and I have that poster in my office. And then I saw them about 1969-70 after the Miami incident. And basically he stood at the microphone and sang, didn't move. And there were probably 4 of Las Vegas Metropolitan Police finest standing on stage with him so he wouldn't expose himself. But
after the Miami incident, if you don't know what that is, folks, do a little Jim Morrison history and you'll see why he was so famous. I love that video of him coming off the plane and they go, "What's your name, Jim? What do you do?" He just smiles and looks at him. He's such a character. All right. Any final words you want to leave these lovely people today, Tony?
No. Again, I'm just going to reiterate: answer your darn phone. Jamal will sometimes catch me when he's doing his things and he's going, "Do you have any bit of advice?" And I say, "Answer your phone."
Answer your phone.
Answer your phone.
That's what Mark
I always
says
tell
too.
my.
Mark says, go ahead.
I always tell my wife, she'll say, "Oh, we're at dinner. It could be a $20,000 phone call, so I'm answering it."
Right.
And excuse me for a second, and I tell them, "I'll call you back," and then everybody agrees, and I call them back. So that's one bit of advice.
I've had dinner with my wife. I definitely want to talk to you, but yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Anyway. Thank you.
Well, as you can see, I could do the rock and roll trivia all day, but we're at time here, Tony. Thank you very much for taking out 30 minutes of your time today. I'm sure people learned something today. You're the best, my man. Well, I'll see you soon. Bye, everybody. Bye, Tony.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.